Can I just say how very happy I am to finally have you with us? Isabella has told us all about you. Especially you, little one. You are a very special girl.
Anna's been through a lot. It takes her a while to let her guard down with people.
Do not worry. You've come to the right place. We can help her with that. Soon, she will fear nothing.
With a crushing atmosphere, gruesome creatures, brain-blistering puzzles, and a loving adherence to old-school design, Dual Effect's original Tormented Souls garnered a generally favorable reputation with survival horror fans. It was an ode to the genre's roots with a modern-day facelift, so of course I played it. And of course I never beat it. Now, I appreciate any nod to classic Resident Evil, and nod this game does, but something about it didn't click for me. It had all the right herbs, just not mixed to my liking. That's why I was pleasantly surprised when I tried the demo for Tormented Souls II. In it, I found a more ambitious, more confident game where just about everything was a big up on the original. Better visuals, better combat, better presentation, better clothes. It left me anticipating a game I wasn't anticipating at all. So I added it to my already stuffed calendar of survival horror throwbacks and gave the full release a shot. Having finished it, I'm happy to say it's good. Actually, it's really good. Actually, it's really very good. I can't help but compare it to the pinnacle of the genre, Capcom's own remake of Resident Evil. Like that redone classic, Tormented Souls prides itself on highly detailed graphics, hauntingly good lighting effects, and immersive interconnected environments filled with just as many secrets as there are dangers. Add in a handful of quality of life features, and I'd say you have a certified survival horror banger. Before we move on, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Nails. Put the final one in their coffin. The sequel moves from the maple-drenched mountains of Canada to the cazuela-soaked ridges of southern Chile. Our original tormented soul, Caroline Walker, seeks the help of a mysterious convent nestled in the secluded town of Villa Hesse. You see, her younger sister Anna is plagued by horrible visions that she ends up unconsciously drawing, and whatever she draws tends to horribly come true. It's a rough get, but it's so important to support the arts. Despite a seemingly warm welcome, it becomes clear that these nuns were putting on a sister act. The Walkers are detained, and the nefarious Mother Lucia reveals herself. She's the big bad, and she's got big bad plans for the girls. Before Caroline can figure out what, she's knocked out cold. A relatively common occurrence for her. When she wakes up, Caroline enters the world of survival horror once more. From here, you have to search the creepy convent, an eerie house of worship that the Holy Spirit vacated long ago. The use of religious horror really helps to distinguish this opening section from the lonely manners we're accustomed to in this genre, with its Baroque paintings and empty altars giving way to a sense of unease. If the devil's in the details, then this game is Satan. The environments border on photorealistic, elevated by lighting effects that crank the atmosphere up from ominous to suffocating. Sound design is just as diabolical, filled with creaks, drips, bangs, and growls at every turn. Your only reprieve from the auditory menace is this serene save room melody. The game uses a mix of fixed camera angles and roving shots that are beautifully framed pieces of art unto themselves. You could explore the game using tank controls or the more modern push-to-go scheme. Both are accessible in the controller, and I found myself oscillating between the two as I saw fit. Tank controls being better for steady exploration, while the modern controls were able to get me out of a bind pretty quickly. The environments don't just look great, they flow well. As I progressed, I kept finding doors and passages that cleverly spilled right back to an earlier area, creating valuable shortcuts that helped me bypass threats. This interconnectivity doesn't end at the convent either. It's a trait shared with each location you visit. Villa Hesse's commercial district serves as a hub of sorts that branches off into a ruined mall, a rotting fish processing plant, a too lively graveyard, and an abandoned school, that one being my favorite. It's a multi-floor labyrinth that reminded me of Midwich Elementary from Silent Hill 1. The scale of the game is impressive, and so is your ability to backtrack to any section you've previously unlocked. And you'll want to. As you make your way across town, you'll notice these breakable walls and crates you can't quite bash yet, but once you find the right item, venturing back can reward you big time, and even affect the story. That's a hint. Due to the game's fidelity though, I found it easy to overlook things I was supposed to interact with. Just about every room is packed with highly articulated objects, covered in blood and coated with shadows. There was a number of times I was aimlessly jogging around locations, blindly running past the one thing I didn't realize I could push out of the way. Thankfully, the map does a fantastic job of marking points of interest, but not always. Where the fuck do I go? Nonetheless, I think the game's greatest quality is its environmental design. Like the best locations in survival horror, Villa Hess is like a character itself, one that beckons you to learn its pathways and uncover its dark history. As in the first game, light and dark play heavily into your survival. Stroll into an unlit corridor for too long and the dark can kill you. Caroline finds a lighter early on to illuminate her way, the only catch being that she can't defend herself while it's equipped. This makes for some harrowing encounters as you meet Mother Lucia's deadlier parishioners. These slinking ghouls or damage sponges who only collapse when you pump enough rounds into them. Basically, they're tried and true survival horror fodder. But the light and dark interplay keeps things feeling dangerous because, well, it demands situational awareness. Since you can only attack in the light, you have to bait enemies into lit areas or hope to find candles you can light yourself. Otherwise, you're left helpless. It's a nice layer of tension that keeps you on your toes. Borrowing from Resident Evil's playbook, you'll do battle with a menagerie of malicious mutants. We're talking The Walking Dead, petulant pigs, big daddies, meat daddies, flying nuns, I fucking hate these guys, knifey knife things, grab crabs, and of course, crab people. Crab people, crab. Unfortunately for these bumps in the night, Caroline has been training with Stars Canada. She starts off with her signature nail gun before her range arsenal grows to include a shotgun, an automatic nail gun, and an acid-shooting crossbow. For up-close encounters, she can bash them with a tool shed's worth of melee weapons like a hammer, crowbar, chainsaw, and even a man-sized sledgehammer. Caroline is here to dispel the polite Canadian myth. Violently. If you hunt around enough, you can also find upgrade parts that could increase your nail gun's fire rate or turn your shotgun into a trident of ouch. You can even find a clippable flashlight so you can free up your bashing hands. You're able to map 4 different items to a shortcut menu, much like the one you'd find in modern RE games. It's actually pretty nice having a quick swap in a classic-styled horror game. My bread and butter was peppering enemies with nails to stagger them and then switching to my melee for the finish. And then I pull out my lighter because the dark is spooky. You can move while aiming, which is not always a guarantee in the genre. It certainly wasn't in the first game. And even net a couple of iframes by performing a backstep. A move I did not use much until the last boss, where it became clear it'd be impossible to succeed without it. Maybe give it some practice. Careful though, some animations can leave you vulnerable, like the 45 minutes it takes to raise up Mjolnir again. Now, I wouldn't call Tormented Souls 2 a combat-oriented game. No, exploration and puzzle solving are absolutely the main focus, but I'm still glad to see there is some thought put into its scraps. I had fun experimenting with what weapons put enemies down the fastest and kept me out of harm's way. By the way, if you ever see a conga line of ghouls, the solution rhymes with shotgun. Combat is challenging at times, but never a chore. And yes, running away is always a better option, especially if you want to save some ammo. Except when the game locks you into DMC-style horde rooms.
Let's rock.
I'm also a fan of how the developers spiced up boss fights. Typically in survival horror, if there are bosses to fight, you're usually locked in a room with a spongier bullet sponge and have to run circles around it, taking potshots until it dies its way into a cutscene. That's pretty much what's happening here, but there are some extra steps. Not only do you have to empty clips into the big bad, you're tasked with interacting with items in the room to put it down for good. When you're fighting holy mackerel over here, for example, you have to load a harpoon gun, prime it, and then go spearfishing. I love it when the environment itself is part of the fight. Some of my favorite horror games utilize this trick. Despite all the walking horrors tossed my way, I thought the game doled out health and ammo at a pretty generous clip. Resource management is still a must, of course, but playing on standard, I never found myself completely depleted. There's always a box of nails nearby if you keep an eye out, or you can Gallagher smash these vases for items, and for fun. Unlike some of its contemporaries, there's no inventory restriction stopping you from picking up anything and everything you see. A gracious choice considering the game's preoccupation with item hunting. You'll be tasked with grabbing keys, wires, pliers, a plant sprayer, hearts, tapes, tape, a rotary dial, cassette player, batteries, the world's most fucked up He-Man toy, etc. A lot of etc. And everything has a use. Sometimes that use won't be immediately apparent, so you have to investigate every item carefully. The game loves the minutia of interaction. often asking you to use items in a series of steps. Some items might even have multiple uses, so you'll find yourself experimenting to see if you have the right tool or not. I personally got into the habit of trying everything on everything. You never know when your pliers or hammer might come in handy. It's this level of interactivity that can lead to little eureka moments. I both loved and hated discovering how to get out of this locked cell. The answer had me slapping my forehead like I was in a 90s sitcom. It's clever design that goes beyond slotting square pieces into square holes. Sometimes this trait is maddening. It's insane how I was holding onto this wire for hours, randomly trying it on everything I saw, up until I found its use toward the very end of my playthrough. Did the game let me know it was finally time to use said wire? It wouldn't be Tormented Souls if it did. Survival horror games tend to use puzzles to break up the tension and add some variety to the affair. In Tormented Souls, everything that's not a puzzle is just a momentary break before your next puzzle. Oh, you have a key? You think you can progress? Boom, puzzle. While you can brute force some by tinkering, most ask you to scour the environment for clues that could be tucked inside a note or staring you right in the face. Other solutions take a broader approach. Maybe too broad, like this xylophone puzzle, where I had the right notes to play and even a little spoon to play them with, but no idea where the game wanted me to play the damn thing until... Oh, son of a bitch. That's not to say that they're all opaque brain burners, it's just that some of them are a little more obtuse than others. Still, there's a wide spectrum here, ranging from simple logic puzzles to multi-step quest chains that need a handful of items before you could even start working on a solution. Personally, I love the puzzles that had you venture to the other side. That's the game's legally distinct version of Silent Hill's Otherworld, Don't Tell Konami, where your actions can create a cross-dimensional ripple effect. Likewise, there's segments that have you travel back in time to alter something that unblocks your progress in the present. It's imaginative design that fits the game thematically. I suspect puzzle hounds will make a meal of the spread laid out here. They're meant to be tough, which may be refreshing in an era where certain mainstream games dilute puzzles down to shooting bells. Others might not enjoy having their momentum slammed to a halt around every corner. If you do get stuck, remember, there's no shame in looking up the answer. What's the horse piece again? But more frustrating than the game's mind-rending puzzles are its insidious bugs. I'm quick to forgive little flare-ups. Hell, some of them can be fun. It's like a gaggle of those rubber chickens going off. I'm less enthused about botchy collision that traps me in enemies, or items that disincorporate in front of my eyes, or bosses who completely seize up mid-fight, or when this specific elevator that should not be able to lose power, lost power, and trapped me in the goddamn basement. I've seen folks on the game subreddit report soft locks across a litany of puzzles too. Especially in a game with limited saves, redoing entire sections because something broke is not the kind of horror we want in our survival horror. As I write this, Dual Effect has promised to patch game busting bugs and other issues. Hopefully you're watching this video in the near future where these issues have been exorcised from the game. Tormented Souls II's anyway, the game story is the kind of heightened horror schlock that'd be right at home on a system that needs a memory card. Never satisfied digging from one well, the narrative mines everything from cosmic horror to science fiction. You'll encounter monologuing villains, virus magic, the aforementioned time travel, and some pulpy plot twists. You can tell the writers pulled from all their favorite shit and Margarita blended them together. There's a lot of Resident Evil in there, sure, including a little bit of RE4. Mother Lucia is basically Sadler when it comes down to it. Look, she even does the wavy hand mind control stuff. But there's also literary nods to stuff like Shadow of Innsmouth. Some of this zaniness definitely softens the horror element, but it's fun. Silly, but fun. The character work, on the other hand, leaves something to be desired. Supporting characters come and go, usually only there to give Caroline a new objective. I think Caroline herself is well acted, but rarely gets to show dimension outside of her single-minded goal to find her sister. Likewise, the game isn't interested in developing Anna as a person so much as keeping her as a carrot on a stick for Caroline. I know this was done to keep the plot moving, but I wish there were more interactions between these two given how central they are to the story. More of them and less of this guy.
A stroll through the countryside in the company of two beautiful women? Well, how could I possibly say no?
I actually found a little more substance in the notes strewn across the game. They serve as first-hand recountings of the village's descent, told by the people caught closest to the Hellmouth. You'll read about a sickness that caused withering and rage in its citizens, sparing no one, not even children. And it's in these notes where Mother Lucia is a more imposing force, a calculated tyrant that used her station to manipulate her subjects' faith. She'd coerce them into committing heinous acts like sacrificing their firstborn. It's genuinely unnerving and does more to cement her evil than even the cutscenes do. Trust me when I say, don't skip out on the reading material. Story nits aside, I think this is an easy recommendation for horror fans. Dual Effect just gets it, man. It's like they went into the past and brought back all the best parts of classic survival horror with them. Instead of shying away from the inherent challenge of older titles, they embrace it, crafting a scenario that's tough, tense, and engaging. It's one of those rare titles that actually gets better as you go along, which is no small feat for a dozen-hour game. Tormented Souls II is an expertly crafted update to the survival horror formula made by developers who adore this genre, and it's easily one of the best horror games of the year.